Americans in action. Rob and Sherry know just what you're looking for. They got cooking, building, installation, and so much more. He'll be coming down the mountain, won't he? This fella ain't no phony. You can know what he knows, one video at a time. RangerRob, country living. RangerRob, country living. RangerRob, country living. RangerRob, country living.
Hello, everyone. This is Ranger Rob, and welcome to the Ranger Rob Country Living Podcast. And my guest is Dale Wiley. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Ranger Rob. How are you?
Not bad. So I need to warn everybody, we are using a different internet tonight, which sometimes will cause me to freeze. And if that happens, it doesn't seem to freeze the other person, but I'll be frozen maybe for 10 seconds and then I'll be back. So okay. I'm using my Starlink because some reason my other one's not working right tonight. So
no
but I didn't want to, this is so much going on. I wanted to make sure that we had a show tonight. So let's see, I do get the chat open. I want to tell everybody, first of all, you can find Ranger Rob Country Living Podcast on Spreaker and on several platforms. We're on Spotify and iHeartRadio and all kinds of stuff. And we're also on the new Central Oregon Radio, which is centraloregonradio.com, which you can pull up on your regular podcast software on your cell phone, or you can even use your Alexa or Echo. And I got to be careful when I say that word because I have an echo in here.
The vacuum cleaner is going to start running.
It does. So, anyway, so that's kind of where you can find the show. We are try to have a show every week, and we talk a lot about Central Oregon. We talk about prepping and homesteading and gardening and all kinds of stuff. And we also talk about Crooked River Ranch. And the reason we do that is because we're from Crooked River Ranch, and so we always start to show off with a little bit of news or gossip or things going on in the ranch, because we do have our own kind of world here, our own politics. And we do have an association here called Crooked River Ranch Association. And so we sometimes get some interesting things going on. So a lot of the locals sometimes will pick up our show and kind of figure out what's going on. And lately I've had the famous Dale Wiley with me, who has been trying to help out getting some of our issues out in the open here on Crooked River Ranch. So with further ado, can you tell me a little bit about what you've started, Dale?
Well, it's certainly been an interesting week in the whole process, Rob. And about 7 days ago, I decided to try and organize a group of the property owners out here in Crooked River Ranch. They've never really had any official representation. There's probably somewhere around 2,800 property owners. It's an HOA. It's governed by a 9-member board of directors that hires managers and everything else. And, you would think they would function just like a city council or a county commission or some other elected body, since we, the dues paying homeowners, we elect them. But no, they don't really see it that way. And they have some interesting ways of relating to the people out here. And basically, our group's just asking to start meeting with them and set some ground rules and guidelines for respectful communications. And, anytime you got 9 people and all the personality dynamics and everything else like that, it gets interesting. 3 of the directors did reach out to me today and say, yeah, we're interested, in setting down some communication guidelines and rules and everything else like that. And then a couple of the others sent me emails, and they assumed they took me to the woodshed, but it was some pretty hilarious reading, really.
Wow. And I am paying attention, people. If you see me looking off to the side, as I have another screen that I'm looking at and doing some other stuff. So yeah, so I've been kind of monitoring some of the information, and one of the things that got stirred up is on Crooked River Ranch is really an HOA. their job is to maintain our area and also make sure we're all staying within the ordinances of the rules and regulations of our properties and stuff. And they also maintain some of our dirt roads and roads also. And so, anyway, so the biggest thing we got going on here is apparently, and I didn't go to it, so I'm not all that up on it, but there's a rodeo that they did here, I believe, last year. It was it the only once, or have they done it before?
This was the first time that rodeo's been back on Crooked River Ranch in like 25 years, is what I was told. And it's a small time Central Oregon rodeo. A lot of those held around here. The promoter come. There's already an existing arena and chutes and everything else like that. So they put on a pretty good rodeo. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I mean, it's Central Oregon cowboy standards goes, it wasn't bad, and real similar to a lot of the other stuff that was around there. And so in the process, this promoter and somebody in the HOA and this and that, they decided to get together and move or start hold the rodeo in another spot. The promoter was going to get to come in and build the arenas and everything else like that. And then, get a free use of it essentially for 5 years. The whole, I mean, everything about the rodeo and everything, it just really wasn't thought out of. And as a group of citizens, we wanted to see the contract and some other things. And, our board just doesn't feel that we're entitled to see any kind of contracts or, answer any questions that that we put to them on it. And so rather than the rodeo kind of being the whole focus of things, because they of course pushed it through on a 7-2 vote, I believe it was, and they're going to go ahead and have it and everything. And so there's a lot of flawed business practices and processes in it. But we're just going to go, I mean, there's certainly other fires going to happen, and snakes are going to crawl out here that you're going to have to deal with. So, go ahead and have your rodeo. We just want to establish a process where we can effectively communicate with them. And so the rodeo was kind of the trigger. It's going to become a non-point. It's great. I love rodeos. I used to rodeo myself back in the days. I'm not against rodeos. We just got to get there the right, transparent way.
Yeah, I know one of the things, and I mentioned this in last week's show, is, since the COVID thing, all of us, a lot of these organizations are all falling back onto Zoom meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're getting into this habit of just falling into that and not necessarily allowing community to come in to monitor the show or show the meeting itself. And so I might go back to show, but anyway, it's not like the school boards where sometimes you can go in and sit in and listen to the meetings or stuff, or even have a chance to ask questions. So I do know that it seems to be a lack of that communication, of allowing the neighborhood to actually go to some of these meetings and listen in and maybe raise their hand for a question and answer time. And so without that information, that's not good. So that's less communication is always the best way when you're dealing with a lot of people. And there's a process for that. If you follow the process, you could actually get people to communicate good, bad, or indifferent information. And that seems to be lacking in our organization at this time. And it sounds like some of them would be more than interested in doing that. And then, hey, Dale, you used the wrong comment thing. It's like, I got a message. So we have this software we're kind of figuring out. It's called StreamYard. And so Dale and I can talk to each other privately, or we can see people's comments. So if you're on Facebook, sometimes we don't always see your comments. The best way to see us is over on YouTube. If you comment in there, we will see it. So anyway, so we got this funny stuff going on in Crooked River Ranch, and I want to introduce Crooked River Ranch as a very nice place to live. Absolutely. And the reason I like to give it some time is because, well, of course I live here, and Dale does, and there's 4,000 some odd people that live here, and we're all blessed with a lot of property. If you consider 1 to 5 acres a lot of property, which it is, and most people don't have that much property. We tend to all have that much property all together each. And so we have some great things that we're allowed to do here. We can have animals and gardens and greenhouses and all kinds of great things. And we also have this beautiful surrounding of Central Oregon around us. And so we live in a very blessed area. So never get the idea that me and Dale are down on our area. We love Crooked River Ranch, and we love Central Oregon. And of course, no matter where you live, you need to get involved if you have concerns. And I got to tip my hat to Dale for trying to kind of communication that would be better for the residents of this area. So, and it sounds like it's going to be kind of hard for you.
Well, it's been a lot of work and everything, but I've got through this. I've done quite a bit of this kind of stuff, as a business building, brand building type of thing in the past. I mean, there's a pathway to get there. Don't necessarily like the amount of time that I've spent, but I mean, it's getting there. We are going to have a meeting either on Zoom or in public, we hope, if we can find the right kind of place, on March 2nd at 6:30 p.m. and everything, kind of an organizational meeting. I need some help on this thing, and I've got a couple people that are waiting to get back to me, but we need a few more than that. And so at this meeting and wherever else, and bring your checkbook too, people, because this ain't going to come for free, type of thing. So that's kind of, I'm heading into gardening and greenhouse season here and everything, and I just could use the extra time instead of dealing with all this, but it's not too bad. And I'm kind of big on community building as well and everything like this. I like to see a good, thriving community. And I think when the people that pay the bills around here are in some kind of a constant sniping, adversarial interaction with the people that we elected to govern, we got to sit down and talk about that and solve that problem. And that's how we're going to do it.
Great. So I wanted to make sure we get a little bit of Crooked River Ranch information in, but I've got to talk about the elephant in the room. Ukraine.
I'm looking around here thinking.
So some of you guys that follow my channel may have seen my video that came out today, and it's a video of love, but it's also a video of wake up people. And so that's actually what the name of the video is, Wake Up. And so what we've just witnessed is a powerful country has come along and has invaded a country that has actually done nothing. They haven't done any anything serious to any countries around them. But they may not have the best government in the world. They don't do terrorism. They're just a little country doing their thing with probably goofed up leaders, just like we do stuff. But they didn't invoke any issues with the country that attacked them. They're being attacked just for their existence and from old history, basically, is what is driving this whole thing. So you've got a country that's modern. They do have their something, they can defend themselves. So this is a total different situation than, say, Iraq or Afghanistan and stuff. We kind of had a purpose in there, and plus we're much higher tech, let's say, than those countries. But this country is not that low tech. They're actually right on, pretty. They've got an army, but they're outmanned, they're outgunned, they're out technology, and a giant country has basically come into their country and is just sweeping it, basically hitting all the military targets right now. And now there's talk that they're trying to get that they're bringing in a lot of troops now to actually start taking or toppling the government. And these guys really have done nothing, and they haven't even attacked outside of Ukraine against them. I mean, now they're actually being attacked. They have every right to attack Russia if they wanted to, and they're just trying to hold the line. And so my point to this whole thing is wasn't there a country, maybe Dale might remember, wasn't there a country that invaded other countries, and bigger countries like our own sat back and watched it for a while, and eventually we got pulled into it, didn't we? Well, it seems like history is replaying itself a little bit here.
Yeah, let's just turn the clock back like 50 years to the activities of the Soviet bloc in Eastern Europe. 50, 60, 70 years. I mean, they've been doing this stuff for a long time. And, they say they're dealing with a couple of breakaway separatist republics that had pro-Soviet leanings. If that were the case, why are they lobbing missiles and rockets and all kinds of ordnance at them? If they're so pro-Soviet, you think they'd do something like that. But you also, you got to look at those seaports on the Crimean Sea there and everything like that, as well as some of the energy resources, of the Ukraine. So for us not to think this hasn't been going to happen for a long time. I mean, this is a major conflict. And I mean, you kind of go back and we're used to the term coup and insurrection has been thrown around our own country for a long time and everything. You want some interesting reading, go to Wiki and enter the words coup d'etat or some variation of it, and you'll get a list of how many coups, where they happened and everything else, all over the country or the world over the last, 30 or so years. This is not a coup d'etat. I mean, this is full blown, let's go blow the hell out of them, take out and install our own people in there. So do they intend on stopping it too? Or are we just going to take they're going to take the whole country? Unfortunately, the United States is, other than being a, NATO ally and everything and involved in it like that, there's not a whole lot, unfortunately we can do, or even NATO can do.
Yeah, it's my concern is either one is something's going to slip up where something gets shot down, or we try, maybe we decide to do a little bit of cyber battling with them or something, and we provoke them, and now they've got permission to provoke us. Because if we do anything to help block Russia from doing anything, there's nothing saying that they won't do it back to us. And of course we deserve it in a sense. And so it's so easy right at this moment that if it's not us, it's going to be someone else or some other organization that says feels bad for them or just cannot stand the fact that they're being demolished and they can't fight back, that other countries could get involved. And so many factors here. If it's a cyber war or anything like that, and let's say we get blamed for that, we could have lights go out. We could have fuel problems. We could have electricity problems, have all kinds of resource problems, transportation problems, etc. That's going to affect us. That's the first thing coming up. So I'm bringing this back to the fact that we like to talk about homesteading, prepping, being self-reliant, and start preparing to be a little bit not dependent on government. And that's what we urge people to do in this channel, and that's what we urge people to do in this podcast. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. So my concern is some people aren't concerned. They just think it's a television show you're watching. But what we just saw was a giant country invade a little country for doing nothing wrong. And the effects of that could grow into something really big, which could affect either other countries or it could affect us as individuals. And it gets down to our level is, are we prepared? And so that's what we do in this channel. We talk about growing food, being prepared, prepping, bearing arms, freedom of speech, all those things. That's what we talk about here. So what's going on right now does affect us and could affect us. It could affect us now. I mean, in a blink of an eye, lights could go off. In a blink of an eye, we could have a major disruption in energy. We could have this transportation could be crippled, either through electronically or fuel wise or cost. It could happen tomorrow. And then instead of people looking at us on this show going, well, you guys are just fear mongers, or you guys are just scared, or trying to get us scared. And that's not it at all. It's actually love and caring, and trying to get everybody to think about what could happen. And if it doesn't happen, if we tell you to stock up a little bit, hey George and hey Jack, I forgot to say hello to you
Hi,
guys.
George.
But if we ask you to put more things in your pantry, put a little bit more gas in your car, keep a little bit extra fuel in your garage, fill that freezer a little more, have a generator, buy extra water. Have we hurt you? Are we hurting you? Are we asking you to do something that's just terrible? Hell no. Sorry, we're not. And it just makes me mad when people say, well, wow, what's that noise? It sounds like, uh-oh.
That was me dropping my water glass on them.
No, that's not it. Oh, my God. So, guys, I've been monitoring, and I know so we get, this is Kyiv in Ukraine, and there's talk that there's oh, I got too many screens up here. Let me put one down. So yeah, everybody's yelling, and I'm hearing on my other screens that there's been explosions at Kyiv, which means that now they're starting to go after the governments in Ukraine. So if I see any more, but what you heard on this in the sound was actually some explosions in, I hope I'm saying it, Kyiv, Ukraine, which means which is not good. That means it's about 4 o'clock in the morning there right now, and it sounds like they're starting to be being attacked in the city now. So all I can say to everybody is put in an extra prayer for them, and we are monitoring this stuff. So anyway, let's get back to this. And George, your freezers are full. In Texas, they better be full of a lot of good steak, right?
Well, since we're talking about freezers, let's just go ahead and talk about Dale's major prep screw up of the week here and everything.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah, this is great. I shouldn't admit to this, but I mean, if I can keep somebody else from doing the same bonehead move that anyway, got about 110 gallon of water in a couple of 55 gallon barrel down here in the shop. I have an electric pump for them and everything else. They're kind of my storage, as well as some other 5 gallon ones here and everything. Got it wrapped up with heat tape and everything else like this, because RangerRob and I, we were down below zero the other morning and everything. So
I think we're almost there today.
Right. So what did my dumbass do? Yeah, forget to plug in the heat tape. I got two 55 gallon. Yeah, I got 2 55 gallon barrels, blocks of ice down here in my shed and everything. So needless to say, if we had an issue and I needed water, I'm SOL. I'm going to have to burn good propane to make it or something like that. I did plug them in. I highly doubt if the heat tapes are going to do anything to it and everything else like that. But hey, what the heck? You look at that, and then the other screw up and everything was, we had pretty light snow there the other morning. So I just walked out to the shed. I grabbed my blower. Yeah, there's about, half an inch of fuel in the tank. And I walked over and I grabbed my 2-cycle can off the shelf. And guess what? There's about a cup of gas in this thing. So obviously my prep inventories, and that 2-cycle fuel I would have needed for chainsaw activities or something else like that. I mean, it's not, it's a screw up, no doubt about that and everything. So of course, both are duly noted and everything, because we kind of went from some decent weather into this cold weather. I'm walking around outside here on the back deck. My spare propane for my buddy heaters and everything else are piled deep in snow and everything. So get out and touch your preps every day, people. Look at stuff and everything. Make sure it isn't, because I'd be in a real fix right now. Bottle with ice cubes. That's 55 gallons, Jack. It's going to take a hell of a lot of bourbon and everything like that. So yeah, you got to do that. And I'm kind of working on some stuff here, new planting processes for the spring in the greenhouse and and kind of a whole new cropping idea and pattern that allowed me to put some ground into production with very little effort and everything like that. So check it out. Don't assume it's good. A block ice, you can't make top ramen with that.
You didn't crack any of your fittings or anything, did you?
No, the things, it's down quite a. I did crack a fitting on my outside frost-free one though. I normally would have disconnected the hose and let the thing drain out and everything, but no, back a few days, a week ago when it was nice, I washed a car and everything like that. I left the hose connected, and even though it's a frost-free, hydrant, it went down the other way, but no, there was enough water in that hose bib up there by it, and it split the side right out of it. So that'll be a spring chore, and that's not a lot of fun.
No. So my biggest problem is animals. So
Yeah.
we like Dale was saying, we had frozen temperatures, and we actually probably went to zero yesterday
I
at
had 2
nighttime
below
and
zero in
stuff.
the morning.
And we actually got snow today. It is starting to warm up. So 2 problems I got. I have George. Oh, it's sunny and warm in Texas. Shut up. Anyway.
Hey, I see Jeff McCowan in there. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff. Yeah. Do you know Jeff?
On just online and everything. We've been having some good conversations and stuff.
Yeah, it's nice to have you, Jeff. So my first problem is water. I can't get water to my animals. I don't have the underground hydrants and all that stuff. So I've been having to haul, and I don't have the best back in the world, but I've been hauling 5-gallon buckets out to the pigs every day, and a little bit of water out to the chickens. Don't need as much, of course. And so it's just been irritating, especially when last week it was like summer. And so now we're back in Arctic weather. But the other thing is actually funny, and I captured it on tomorrow's video. My pigs are just jerks. I have Idaho pasture pigs, for those that watch your channel, and they have 4 bowls, which we feed them in, and they kick them around, all that stuff. But lately, and I don't know why, I don't know if they like to lay on them or they're warm or something.
I can tell you why. You go ahead and finish, and I'll tell you why.
Okay. All 4 bowls, they will steal all 4 rubber bowls and put them in their bedding in their house. And I've got to crawl on my hands and knees and get them out of there, but I have to detain them first. So I have to put food in the ground, because if I try to get in their house and these fat little pigs all try to come in the house too, I'll get crushed. and plus, I'm not sure if I want to be on my hands and knees as a whole bunch of pigs start coming in that weigh 120 pounds each. So,
that's probably not a good idea. I got a pig lot story someday.
So what do you think they're trying to do? Why are they taking their rubber bowls into their house?
Well, they're taking those rubber bowls into that house, and then they're putting them down there, and they're laying their fat little piggy carcasses on top of them, because that thick rubber or anything else like that is one of the absolute best insulators in the world. And they, during this cold weather, and pretty much, which is all winter for us, that protects them from losing any heat down through where they're laying on these things. And farm animals are very, if you look around at how when the sun is out and everything, about how the horses stand during the day, they stand at very specific angles that expose, the largest portion of their body possible to the sun rays as possible. And so you got reflected heat coming off of that rubber. That's why those pigs are doing it. Wrapping up in plastic is one of the best things you can do to stay warm. And that's my opinion, because that's
I tend to think it's something to do with warmth, because
oh, absolutely,
they'll spread all 4 bowls all over the whole little hutch that I built for them, and they have hay, guys. It's not like I don't throw a whole lot of hay in there. And before it got cold, we knew it was going to get cold, and we threw a lot of hay in there. And but no, they still steal their bowls, put them all in there, and for a guy who's 61 years old, crawling on their hands and knees trying to get these stupid bowls out every day when it's freezing to death, it's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's one of those damn pig things, And So it is kind of funny, and I think you're right because when it was warmer, I wasn't. They weren't dragging their bulls into the hutch that much last week. But all
No,
of a
no.
sudden now it's a battle, and I'm almost. I wish I could tie them down somehow, but I can't. And uh, yeah. Anyway, it's just been funny, but not funny. So that's kind of the latest trouble that we've been having with weather. But getting into prepping, uh, I think one of the things that I want to bring up is rotation of your food. And because Sherry and I are kind of going through this, is we're always adding a little more to our preps, and we try to use our preps. And the reason is we want to keep rotating our food, rotating the date of things, and we don't have really old cans of anything. We don't have old bottles of any kind of sauces and stuff like that. And then what's also nice about that is it gives you insight of whether you're getting low on anything that you need to prep up on. So, all right, you got me on a 49 F and chemtrails. I don't get that one, Jack. Sorry.
Was
Anyway,
parts per trillion, billion, zillion thing. Okay.
Anyway, so what we've been finding is actually where we thought we were in pretty good shape in our preps, we're actually finding weak spots because we're like, oh, maybe I thought I had more cooking oil, and then all of a sudden I look at it and I go realize, damn, I only got one bottle of it, and so I guess I want to tell people is if you are prepping and you are trying to keep up on your stuff, here, I think we answered that question, George. Anyway, watch your preps, rotate your preps, and it'll help you also keep your inventory in shape, because some people like me, I just don't write this down on a spreadsheet like probably Dale does.
No, I
you're
do.
trying to show the temperature? What is our temperature right now?
25 degrees right now, George.
25. And they'll probably drop down to 15 tonight, maybe 20.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So, so it's been kind of a little bit chilly lately, but it's supposed to warm up next week. So we'll see. But I think I hate last week because it was beautiful last week and I got spring fever really bad. And I started building.
We did get spring fever so bad. You know what I did, Rob? Is I went and I seeded up peat pellets of lettuce.
Oh, sweet.
That's 9 days. This is my new thing. This is the absolute best method to seed stuff in a small situation at a minimal cost with very little hand labor. Now I've got these guys. I had to bring a couple of pots into the house and everything, so we got a pretty nice exposure in our master bathroom and everything with some nice 9-foot windows on the south side. So I'm going to plant some of these up. This is I just ordered 1,800 of these things because I kind of changed the direction of my greenhouse and small horticultural enterprise here. Going to kind of try and grow some stuff and sell it at the local farmers markets and around like that. And so worked on that. But what you just said before about those preps, looking into those things and everything and understanding that just goes right back to the comment I made earlier about touching your preps every day. And I mean, that just means walking through and looking at things. It doesn't, mean you're strange. Just look through the cabinets, see what you get. I go out there, I thought, well, I better check my field. If I had a tree fall down out here or something, I'd get about 3 cuts with my chainsaw and then I'd be shut down with no fuel. So, take that for what it's worth.
Yep. So I do want to make sure we actually have an agenda. Let's see if I find it here. I thought I just pressed the button. There it is. All right, let me bring this up. So guys, Dale has been so nice to try to give us an outline for our shows. And so even though I may not have titled the show exactly how he put it on here, which is what are the current what are our current threats? And so that's kind of got me motivated also about talking about Ukraine today. Is the realities is, and I just want to put this out there: the Ukrainians didn't believe that they were going to be invaded. The
Neither
Ukrainians,
did the Canadians.
oh yeah, none of us thought. We're all going, yeah, it's just a show. He's sitting around there. Nobody would thought, who in their right mind would go in and attack an innocent country? And so the point is, is we're asking you to start looking at your inventory. Look at your preps. Look at your preparedness. Can you go a week without electricity? Can you go a week or two without going to the grocery store? Can you heat your house in 25-degree weather?
Yep.
How would you do it right now? Just in case. And you say, in your mind, you're probably going, this is never going to happen, Rob. Never going to happen. And I want you to look at 44 million people yesterday who were saying to themselves, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. They're just playing a show. They're never going to invade our country. It doesn't make any sense to invade our country. They invaded their country and people are dying. And if it's not because of getting shot or being attacked, it's going to be eventually their power is going to be out, or eventually the food's going to be hard to get. It's going to go way beyond just the fact that they're being invaded. There's going to be some suffering going on, and that could be us someday. So all I'm saying is wake up, be prepared, and it's sure and heck not going to hurt you to have a few extra things in your pantry. And it's not going to hurt you to have a little extra water. And it doesn't hurt to have a couple extra cans of propane or fuel in your garage. And maybe some extra medications and things like that. Or if you have a prescription, to have a little bit of extra around. So anyway, I know I preach a lot about that, but I feel like a broken record. But someday, people like me, people like Dale, and many other homestead shows are going to stop talking about it. And because things are getting tough, and you're on your own after that. So, because I'm going to take care of my family and I'm going to take care of my community, but I'm not going to take care of you, because we are doing it right now. We're trying to get you prepped and we're trying to get you going the right correct. But if shit hits the fan, eventually we're not going to be able to go to. We're not going to be helping you. And that's sad, but that's how it is. So, hey, at least we're giving you guys the heads up here.
Let's put this into a little bit of current context here, Ranger Rob. We've thought you're kind of talking about Ukraine and the obvious instability in Eastern Europe, and that's going to create in Europe and everything else. We don't exactly have the most stable political climate, and sure as hell isn't the economic climate in our country. Oh, there you are. You're froze up. I just kept talking because I was hoping it was going through.
We're doing pretty good. I only had one freeze up that I've noticed so far, so good.
Thank you. Anyway, we obviously don't have the most stable political situation, a lot of turmoil and everything. There is a number of truckers that are gathering, and they are on their way to Washington, D.C. We already saw what that shit show up in Canada was and everything like that. Which one of these clown shows can outdo the other? But in any case, you're looking at a period of just multiple geopolitical instability. And while I don't think the Ukraine situation is the massive geopolitical event that I thought that would cause a lot of trouble, it certainly contributes to the overall number of smaller geopolitical events that are occurring, such as up in Canada, and the martial law that was imposed by Justin Trudeau and everything. And I mean, anytime you put the military in the streets and the police are beating the shit out of people for no reason, and then Justin Trudeau, the prime minister, has to flee the country or flee to a safe spot, I thought we called those coups d'etats. That's what I thought we called those things and everything. So look at that instability. And the fact is that you can forget about the supply chain taking care of you. You can forget about the government coming in and taking care of you with relief supplies, because all of that shit is 3 weeks away at a minimum, you know, for any of that type of stuff. And then who knows how the distribution process would go or anything else. You're on your own. So heed the words of a couple of old, you know, guys up here in Central Oregon and everything. That
There you go. I'm back.
Start.
We had a troll, and I had to get him blocked off.
Pounce him there, so
we got him. Anyway, I was going to ask you a question about your little planter there with the lettuce. Do you break that apart and put it in the pots? Or
no, I'm not going to break that apart. That is compressed peat and everything. It's in a cornstarch wrapper and everything like that. Like I said, that's 9 days on that thing. They've been watered twice in 9 days. They have a little dome on them and everything. So no, I used to grow nursery stock, and we would get our flowers and everything like that in these little plugs, which were, you know, probably about three the size of these. So this is just a modified plug. That thing just drops down into the I'll probably plant these in what we call a little 4-inch pot or type of thing, or directly out in the garden. You just drop that in there, plant it, put it out, and go. I'm all about efficiency and not having to shovel dirt and everything else like that. And these little peat pots have, you know, proven to be pretty effective. Like I say, I've ordered up 1,800 of them. I've got another 4 or 5 of them sitting over here on top of a little refrigerator in the kitchen and everything. Just you know, there again, those things, I think I can get, these are about 8.7 cents a piece and everything. So the cost is just negligible as to what. And this is the, you know, this is the whole little tray of them right there. Cool. And everything. So that's a nice spring green salad mix. There's, I don't know what I got, 2, 4, 6, 10 of them in here. I've got some larger trays and everything else like this. And so people, if you're watching this thing, I used to grow commercial greenhouse vegetables and everything. And if you can't be on that kind of a scale, this is probably one of the more efficient ones. Each one, I think there's 10 in here. You could make 3 really nice salad bowl pot things out here. And you could probably, you know, you could get 2 to 3, you could get 3 salads a week continually across the summer off that. So there's some calories there. Yes, Ukraine is a sovereign country, Jack. And that we could make political statements about Ukraine and everything, you know, and we'd probably get hit with some of the algorithms and everything else. But
true, that's true. We got to be a little careful.
Yeah.
One of the other things I was going to tell you is what I use is I use the Rockgrow cubes or the Oasis cubes for our. And so, like, for example, if you watch my videos, we've started our tomatoes. They're all in Oasis cubes. So when they're under light and they're under heat right now, they're just about ready to move into a seed starter, because I have to keep them in till almost May. So as soon as I see my second set of leaves, or those Oasis cubes, I'm not taking them out of the Oasis cubes. I'm literally putting the whole Oasis cube into the soil and then let it root out. And eventually, when we're ready to go outside to the greenhouse with them, we just pull them out of there, rinse off the dirt, and then we put them into our Dutch buckets. But yeah, we're doing something similar to that. But I don't know what the cost is involved to use what I'm using. But the Rockgrow cubes and the Oasis cubes have basically worked really good for us. And we were using those little 2-inch cups that for doing our hydroponics, but we're finding we can operate just fine just from the Rockgrow and Oasis cubes. But the same concept of what you're doing. Exactly.
You know, I mean, you look at this thing and, you know, we talk about smaller spaces and the type of stuff you're doing with hydroponics there and everything else. And I have the 6 raised beds in my garden, or my primary, and then I had a couple of smaller areas out in the garden, in the landscape and everything. And I don't want to spray weeds and do all this. And I was working on my lower driveway the other day, kind of cleaning it up with my tractor. And I ran into a seam of some of the most awesome topsoil I've ever seen that's come down off the top of this hill that I live on. So I now have my own beautiful topsoil mine on my own place that needs to be cleared off anyway. So I brought about 1.5 yards of it up, dumped it in the flower beds that were formerly bark dust and everything else. And I'm going to move my tomato crop into that natural dirt like that, and that'll free up an entire bed to go to something else with.
So our reveler, he brought up the one person I was talking to. I was actually showing this to Dale earlier. This is what's called agenda free, and so I can't play the sound or anything, but I keep him on all the time. He's on in our other room, and the thing is he monitors tweets from all over the world based on whatever subject he's watching, and so. Anyway, so I just thought maybe I'd impress our reveler that yes, we watch agenda-free TV and it's awesome. We really think he does a good job. So anyway, I just thought I'd put my 2 cents in there as like watch agenda-free, because you can watch your CNNs, you can watch your Fox News, but they have an agenda. And so you only see really what politics they want you to see. And I have no problem with bouncing between all the two. I think you should watch a little bit of CNN. You should watch a little bit of Fox. But if you want somebody who's basically agenda free, go to YouTube and type in, and this guy's name is Steve Lutner. Anyway, and he does a great job. He's an independent. He just sits at home with all these monitors, and he monitors tweets from Ukraine, from here, from politicians, etc. And you'll get more education out of that one guy than you will out of CNN and Fox, and you'll be getting truthful information because they're coming from people on the ground in those exact locations. And so, yeah. So that was a good reference there, Reveler.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to jump in real quick, like on Jeff's comment there. He's asking if we have a problem with rodent issues in our starts. And, my answer to that is no. Mine are started in a somewhat sealed greenhouse. I haven't had a lot of problems with rodents. I get some small mice and everything and some voles like that. They haven't really been an issue. I'm kind of hesitant to go after them with any kind of bait. I will set some traps for them and everything. They've never been an issue. Now you talk about the gray diggers we got around here. That's a completely different story. My wife feeds the birds out here and everything. They haven't started in this time of the year, but probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks, these gray diggers will show up again. And unfortunately, these gray diggers, when they come to the Circle W Ranch, which is the name for my little hilltop place here and everything, they want to come in and eat these seeds and get into my raised beds and everything else. Most of them have a collision with a little piece of lead at some point in time that results in 31 of them not making it off my property last year and 17 the year before. So those are the guys, the big ones you got to control. But as a 12-year-old boy, and I grew up on shooting gray diggers up at Doofer in the fields up there. So that's the only problem we really have with rodents. The voles and smaller stuff's not a problem.
My biggest problem is aphids. And so this year I'm being very careful that I'm not using potting soil. I'm using seed starter that's been safer. This what do you call it when they treat it, pasteurize it, or do something where it doesn't have all the critters that would normally be in dirt. And last year I made the mistake of using potting soil with my new plants, and Jack, I'll tell you about my rodent trap in a minute. Anyway, so this year I'm using seed starter that's been treated, and so it should be better to use to start my plants out, because my young plants last year got attacked by aphids very early in my green room, and so that was really frustrating. And so once you get kind of those going, it's hard to get rid of those aphids. And so I'm trying a different process this year. So
ladybugs.
What's that?
Ladybugs.
Yeah, but this is actually in my house.
Oh, well,
The green room's attached to the back of the house.
My wife had these ladybugs living in here. She wouldn't have a problem with that. Aphids also and whiteflies, those are going to be a couple of problems. They're very small chewing insects and everything, but where they will do some damage for you, is if conditions are just perfect. I'm telling you this story because this cost me a couple $1,000s a few years ago back in the greenhouse days and everything. Conditions just got perfect. And we picked up a very small amount of botrytis, a fungal infection in an area of this crop. And I think it was 300-400 flats of pansies down on the ground in a clean environment and everything else. But the moon and the stars lined up right. There was some fungus present, and we had some white flies and some of those smaller aphid types of thrips. And they got on that fungus and they hopped their little asses all around that entire crop, spreading that fungus and everything, and it made the crop unsellable and everything. So they certainly can do some damage like that.
Oh yeah. So I'm hoping I didn't, because this was my first year last year, kind of growing from beginning to end. I had to learn my lesson on a few things. I learned a little bit about those hornworms too, which I'd never really seen one before until I had tomatoes outside. I had tomatoes in the greenhouse, didn't have any problems, but outside I've never seen a caterpillar that's pure green that's like that long and you can't see them. It's amazing. A big old thing like that, you cannot see them on the plant. And they will mutilate it.
The surface, and I'm fortunate. A lot of people in our area have had problems with those. I found one or two up here in the greenhouse, and I threw them into the chickens and everything because they love them like that, and so and that stuff's going to be naturally occurring. And I think what you're seeing here to the people watching and everything is that Rob and I are talking about different growing methods and conditions, and you can see both of us have different methods, and whatever works best for you works best, and I was originally going to go into this year with a seeding process where I would use a seedling mix, put it in my various types of trays here, and go into this process and direct seed these things. So I got the process of buying that dirt, seeding it into the trays, doing it, and then managing it from that point in time. So I saw these peat things here a little bit earlier in the year. I grabbed a few of them, seeded them up the other day to try and see how the process was going to go and everything else, and just decided, well, this is pretty cool and everything. And so, even old guys that have been doing this stuff for a long time will change their habits midstream, in reaction to whatever is happening. And so, I think I've probably saved myself just a little bit of money. I saved myself a hell of a lot of labor, and that's the main thing right now. So, Rob's got a method that works great. My method works great. Hey, pick whichever one, pick both, whatever type of thing, but pick something.
I changed mine too, because I'm changing this year. I'm trying to make sure I don't have the aphid problems. And that little trick that Jack was talking about with my rodents is I had a lot of trouble with mice in my garage and also my shop. And so I just bought a bunch of 5-gallon buckets, and on Amazon, you can buy these little rollers that fit them perfectly. You just drill 2 holes and a peanut butter and a little ladder to them. And I caught tons of mice that way. It's the perfect, if you need a large quantity of mice to be caught, use one of them buckets. It's awesome. Anyway, but I've seen other processes too that work wonderful. But I haven't had that much trouble with the rodents with my plants other than insects. And mine, and it could be different this year. Mine was aphids last year and a couple of hornworms, and but it didn't devastate me. But my aphids went after my potatoes plants and devastated them. I had to pull them out of the greenhouse before they really got out of control. Just about wiped them all out. So I got to do I'm going to do my potatoes differently. But I didn't realize aphids would attack. I didn't even think they liked, certain plants they just don't like. They don't touch my holy moly. Yeah, we got that one handled, guys. Boy, that's the most I've gotten that kind of stuff. But he should pop away here in a minute.
Hard there. That's unreal.
Hey, your show's doing better when you start to get trolls.
When you get Japanese trolls like this, man, you're getting out there. Awesome.
Thank you very much. But
Yeah.
anyways, but I could be changing once this year comes along, it could be a whole new set of problems. And you might have a process that might work for my problem this year and vice versa. So it's really nice for people to watch shows like what we're watching here. Not only ours, but let me make sure there, he's gone. So anyway, we're not know-it-alls. We're all just going through the motions, learning new things, even at our age. And Dale's really old.
Yeah, I am. I admit it. I'll be 4 years older than Rob this year and everything. And I mean, it's interesting when you get to this age, which I didn't think I'd ever get to, just because it seems so damn far away originally and everything else. You start looking at your life, these little 5-year blocks or anything, and you assess your health and everything else. And it's like, I got to get stuff done here in the next 10 years, if I'm blessed with 10 years and everything. And it just keeps going so fast and everything else. And, my daughter's going to be 40 this year. And
mine just turned 40. It's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, this is just unreal. And, so it's just like, and, looking at how you live your life and all this, I mean, Rob and I are both pretty hardcore preppers, and Rob's much more of a homesteader than I am. I'm more of a kind of the small backyard type of a production situation and everything. And you look at this and it's like, how long can I keep doing this? What are my limiting factors? And that's precisely why I went to a different method on, and I've even decided on my larger containers, I'm just going to buy bagged soil. I can get the soil basically at the same price rather than getting a trailer and getting the soil out here and everything else. And it's real easy. It's real easy to handle it. And so you start looking at these factors and everything to make sure your energy outputs are going to give you the best possible yield for what you're putting into it.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to see my new above ground garden boxes?
Yeah, I saw those. I thought that was pretty good. I mean, you obviously saved the money on the wood. My son's got some extra wood. I've got to go get it because is part of this process of recropping basically, and finally figured out I'm going to put down about 250 flats of ornamentals and vegetables and like that. And I've got some other grasses and everything else. And all this is designed, to sell at the farmer's market, get me a couple months of expense money or something like that. And those beds that you built, were pretty outstanding. I put on my greenhouse's wood, I put plastic on it year before, construction grade, but Central Oregon will take out plastic. So I've got to put some Corex type of material on it. I'm scared to see what that stuff going to cost. I mean, I may be going back on it with another construction grade type of plastic because, I went to order some nursery pots the other day, and I use a pot that's called a 1020. It's 10 inches wide, 20 inches long, holds 18. It's a real nice universal type. It's plastic. It's extruded plastic, and the damn things are almost $4 a piece. So I mean, it's just, and then the other stuff, and that's kind of why I went to these peat pots on a lot of stuff. They're a little more advantageous like that. But I just looked at the inputs on this stuff, and we still have friends in the nursery business and doing this and that. And there's just no way in hell I want to be involved in any kind of production that requires you spending, for these plastic parts. And it's just understandable why everything is so expensive. So people out there figure out ways to try and stay away from expensive plastics.
So sure. And of course, we're getting to the end of our show. And I want to thank everybody, Jack and our Reveler. And we had
good crowd.
Jeff with us and some other folks that popped in. And I didn't catch everyone. And I want to thank a couple of trolls I see.
Your show's good when the trolls are coming.
Yeah, make sure I get this other guy off here too. So I want to thank everybody that came to visit us, and I hope you guys see us next week. We try to shoot for Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and I'm going to try and actually get this show off the air before the 1 hour mark. So, guys, I want to thank you very much for watching, and we'll see everybody next week. And Dale, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Ranger Rob, and thank you to everybody that joined us online here as well. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all later, and thanks for watching. Bye. Thank you very much for watching our video. Please take the time to like, subscribe, and share our videos all over the whole wide world. Thanks.